Good morning everyone. Today in this video, as in every video on this channel, we will fight against the utmost character of our world around us, and one of the utmost opinions about some countries in the world is the opinion that in 1989, actually since 1989 till 1991, communism fall because it was defeated by the peoples of these countries and blah 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 blah, victory of democracy and so on and so on. History, as it happens from time to time, it's much more complicated, and the real picture which we can find behind this tapestry of propaganda and understatements is completely different than the common image of these events from the mentioned years that majority of people has in their own minds. The reality is that since 1981, more or less, in Moscow and the communistic elite of other satellite European states started to realize that this Marxist economical model will lead them to lead them to nowhere, to starvation, economic catastrophe, and social catastrophe, and so on. So some of them started to create a plan uh, of taking the power after so-called transformation, and the people of secret services, intelligence services in these countries, who were damn numerous because heart of the communistic countries, real heart where the decision were made, was the body of the intelligence services and the communities of people that were creating these intelligence services. And these people, with some oppositions that anti-communist, so-called anti-communist opposition, that was connected with them in these countries because they were their agents in most cases, or people even openly collaborating with them. They started to make a deal that after official fall in quotation of the communists, they will divide the power in the new countries. It was great planned overtaking of power by the people pre-selected from so-called licensed opposition, so anti-communistic opposition controlled by the communistic secret service, intelligence service, and the intelligence service people. Of course, such big operation that it's realized on a very huge scale in so many countries on a great territory. It has its own dynamics, and in some countries it went better. In some countries it went a little bit worse. But in general, almost in all countries, with some exceptions like Czech Republic or Eastern Germany, where Western Germany actually broke all communistic structure, but now they have hiccup because in the form of Die Linke Partei, former Stasi officials came into power, but after some years, of course, because it was more difficult for them. Actually, these people took over the power in the post-Soviet satellite states. Of course, in some countries like in Czech Republic, Czechs really made a good work, and they eliminated almost all of them from public life. In Hungary, it happened about 20 years after, in 2010, when the currently leading party came to power, that they finally are working for the Hungarians and realizing Hungarian national interests, not the interest of guys from former communistic secret service and so-called licensed anti-communistic in quotation opposition. But in other countries, it it didn't happen yet. And this is the real picture how the politics of these countries, many of them, it's not so efficient, it's not so focused on the national interests of these countries, and it's so chaotic actually. because these people from secret services, they were always servants of the external huge empire. So if one empire was replaced by another, they are serving to the another huge empire from outside. Former Yugoslavia, of course, the history of former Yugoslavia went completely different way through the bloody war and bloody partition, unfortunately. And this is the history of these transitions. Very good works about it are written, for instance, for Poland by Polish writer Waldemar Wysiak in some of his books. That some of them were translated into Italian and some of them were translated into German. Into English, I have no idea if some of his works about the Polish political situation and Eastern European political situation were translated into English. But there are some activists and writers in the West, like in France, Alain Ben-Sacon, or some others who slowly realized that the official version of the fall in quotation of communist, it's not the one that really happened. Slowly the truth comes into surface, but in the awareness of some people in the West, but it will take long time before it will happen. That the picture that is offered to them about the break of the Berlin Wall and the reasons behind it, when the real picture, how it happened and why and who was really behind it, the real picture depicting the situation, I think we still need a lot of time to have this picture on the surface. All the best. I encourage all of you to independent studies in the literature. I just mentioned you the right direction to follow. I just mentioned you the propaganda version. Try to search on your own for the real, much more interesting version, how 1988 till 1991 transformation in quotation really happened in this region of the world, Central and Eastern Europe. Bye, have a nice evening.